Gamers7, and welcome back to some more Sims 4 Create a Sim. And if you've been watching here for a bit, you know that we are on the D&D Characters Create a Sim, where I try to take my D&D characters that I have came up with and even drawn and try to make a sim version of them. Obviously, for some of them, it's a little bit more of a challenge than others, because the ones that are sort of semi-close to being more humanoid, obviously are going to be easier, or not necessarily humanoid, because humanoid is just like, you know, usually referring to having 2 legs and 2 arms and like a head, you know, that overall basic feature, but I guess humanish is better, like further humanish than humanoid, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Another thing that I run into is also where certain characters have a very specific thing in mind, and then I can't find that in Sims, so, you know, sometimes that was a struggle, but, you know, I got as close as I wanted to. I will say when it comes to some of them, like, because I only have, like, sketched out drawings of them, I don't have anything colored wise. In my head, all of them have sort of a certain color palette. I sort of know which direction some of them are going, but I don't actually see any of these colors on paper or, like, you know, on screen together, and this is the first time I sort of get to do that with bringing all their colors together, which is sort of nice, and I get to play around with and see if in my head it actually looked as good once I put those colors together. Granted, with Sims, some things don't have color swatches that I wish they had, but, you know, it's part of the challenge. So, today we are creating the last of the characters who I use the EVs as a very loose interpretation. When I say very loose, I mean very loose, because obviously none of the EVs are humanoid creatures at all, and none of them are human-ish, but then on top of that, like, there's a lot of other things. Some of them don't actually have anything remotely like wings, but now they have wings and stuff like that. But it's just using them to try to figure out, like, if they were thrown into the D&D world and turned into actual characters that talked and done all this other stuff, what would they potentially look like? Now, obviously, sometimes I use homebrew stuff, so I like having a diverse range of characters and situations and things like that, so I don't care. But we are watching the creation of Nix Gorever, and he is a hobgoblin. This is the one sort of with Flareon. I partially chose hobgoblin just because hobgoblins have that reddish orange, like, skin tone a lot of times, like, well, they're supposed to have something around that anyway. And, you know, the actual Pokemon Flareon has, like, a reddish-orange. Hers is definitely more of a orange-orange, versus what I go with Nix here is closer to a red, just to stay more closer to the Hobgoblins, versus just actual Flareon. But, yeah, playing around with him and trying... I will say, like, I have some custom skin tones that give me color options, but at the same time, it's like they don't have enough of the color options, because some of the color options look way too, like, deep, and some of them are too muted, and, like, moving that little slider helps somewhat, but not completely, and then you throw skin overlays to help a little bit more, so, you know, you just keep adjusting and moving layers, and eventually it will work. But Nix he actually comes from sort of a village of hobgoblins that, I wouldn't say necessarily all of them were, like, nice, but, you know, hobgoblins are more known for not having a good reputation. And funnily enough, my boyfriend, who is the big D&D nerd, who even got me into D&D stuff, he actually sort of really likes this idea of this character, because technically hobgoblins usually are bad, but this one is actually quite the opposite. So, it's part of the reason why he likes it. He likes the fact that it's a hobgoblin who is not inherently evil or bad even. So, but yeah, in my head it was like a village that was sort of diminishing. It was not much going on anymore, not many people actually in the village, and it was basically like so few of them, even though they probably had some strong people in their ranks. Get a big enough group of people after them and that village is going down. So him and his sister basically are sent off. They leave, they sort of go off on their own, traveling and trying to just stay safe. His sister is, like, younger than him, and I'm trying to remember her name right now. it also starts with an N, because I purposely decided to make both of their names start with Numi. Numi is his sister's name. So she's slightly younger. They eventually come across this village of people who seem to be very, very nice to them. They're like, giving them like a place to stay while they're traveling. They feed them, give them warm blankets, things like that. Very comforting, very inviting. But eventually one day, like after eating, they like knock out almost immediately, him and his sister. Both of them like just knock out. When Nix finally wakes up, his sister is not there, and the whole village seems to be quiet. And he's trying to figure out where his sister is, mainly, but also where has everyone else went? Is that where his sister is, or what has happened? Why is he the only one left here? Now, nearby this village is like a volcano, and this village views this volcano as very sacred. And basically, lately the volcano had been acting up and acting weird, and they were worried that something was wrong, that they did something bad. So they basically decided that they were going to make an offering to the volcano, and it was Numi, Nix's sister. So by the time he figures out where all the people are by hearing voices off in the distance, and he eventually gets to the volcano, he sees the sister tied up towards the top, and they're about to toss her in, and he runs up there to get to her and try to save her. And he does save her, but because she was so close to falling over, the only way to save her was to basically use his momentum of pushing her away from the volcano, but he ended up falling in instead. But because of his act of heroism and stuff, that was seen as a brave thing and a good thing to do, that he actually ended up getting powers, and the volcano did not hurt him, which is probably weird. A guy just falls into a volcano and then he's able to climb back out. Yeah, I would be a little terrified. But the little god or goddess of this volcano, or volcanoes in general, maybe not just of this particular volcano, maybe there is one of just this particular volcano, but in general, seen this as a better act than what the village was trying to do, so they rewarded him and not the village by sparing his life and then giving him powers. So he is a sorcerer, and his subclass is Phoenix Sorcery. He's mainly going to be focusing on more fire-related things. Obviously, one, he was tossed in a volcano. That's how he got his powers. Two, it's inspired by Flareon. And so yeah, when creating this story, I definitely wanted to try to find a way to bring fire into it, and like I mentioned with all the characters loosely inspired by the evolutions, I wanted to make sure that I did different classes and different races for every single one of them, just to sort of start getting used to stuff about D&D, and I'm still learning. There's a lot to D&D. I will probably never memorize it all, or even close to it all, but, it's a good start. It was something that was good to sort of get me in the hang of things, and now I can't stop making characters, so that's fun. But yeah, with drawing of Nix, I definitely didn't want him to look overcomplicated, and I didn't want it, he's just a normal adventurer at first, and I honestly had some clothes that fit pretty well. I was pretty, obviously they're not exact to what I drawn. There's gonna be nothing that's exact to what I draw, because I'm drawing these out of my head, and yeah, there's gonna be inspiration, but there's no way that those same things are gonna be done exactly in The Sims, even with custom content. But yeah. And with his hair especially, I definitely wanted it to be a more dreads, potentially braids, tight braids. But I had them up in a pony sort of way, but they had little notches in them. And I have a hairstyle but that sort of does that, but it's a female hairstyle, and I know you can take the feminine thing off, but a lot of the ones that are designed for females, when you try to put them on males, they glitch through their chest and stuff, all too weird. And Nix here is pretty muscular, so I already knew that, one, if I wanted to even try that, it probably definitely would glitch on him. Two, because it's more of a thinner, straight hair, and I definitely want him to have more of the locks type hair. Ultimately, I went with hair that was closer to braids, just because it fit the more overall feel of what I would imagine in my head he would look. I think I actually changed his hair from what is in this. There's a few of the characters that I go back after the fact, because I actually go through and give them formal, active, swim, hot, all the different outfits, where I'm going to be putting them all together in this house and just seeing what happens. Obviously, they need outfits for every occasion. Normally with my creative sims, unless I for surely know that I'm going to be using them somewhere, I only make the everyday, and if I'm going to do the other outfits, I usually do them off camera, which is what I did here. There's a few cases where I do change things around, which I am fooling with his hair here at this point again, so maybe here I actually give him the hair that I think that he has in the pictures. But any of the characters, I have a few characters where I went back and changed stuff after the fact, because either as I was doing their everyday wear, I found something that fit better for them and I just didn't notice it in the process of recording, or it was something that had been bothering me the whole time that I was just like, nah, I think I'm gonna go back and change it. I think this is the hair that I keep him with, or at least I give him in the screenshot. So if I go back to any other hair, then that's not the hair that I kept, because I keep the one that was just showing, I believe. I really liked this one, but it glitches through his ears. And sometimes with the hair glitching through the ears, it doesn't bother me, because maybe the way it looks, you can't really tell that it's like glitching in a natural way. But with this style of hair and stuff like that, I was just like, nah, it looks too weird. So yeah. But I do have some screenshots of him, and of course I had to take them near a volcano, at least some of them. So yeah, I really actually had fun with a lot of these screenshots. I actually tried to make the screenshots make sort of sense for the character to some degree. I also decided that for my characters who are part of groups, like these guys, they are a group. In my head, this is a group that maybe not all 9 of them are together at all times. Like if I was to try to actually play this character in D&D, I would tell like the DM, like, you know, there's a way that they separate and they can meet back up if they need to, and obviously it would be up to the DM if the other characters ever get brought into it. But if I was going to ever try to DM myself and they was part of my world as NPCs, sometimes there's a chance that you would see all 9 of them together, and then sometimes there's a chance that you only see like 1 or 2 of them together, or 4 of them. Like you won't necessarily always see all 9 of them together at all times. So yeah. But I decided with those group ones that I was going to include some screenshots of them all together at the end of the very last character of the group. So Nix is the very last character of this group, so at the very end you will see 2 lovely screenshots of all the D&D Evolution inspired sims together as one. So I have a few others that are like meant to be almost like groups, or like they go together. So in those cases, you will be seeing group screenshots when the last character appears. We're about to go into another group, so you'll see another group shot eventually soon. But yeah, I just thought it was really fun to actually see them like all together, since they are meant to be a group before they get tossed into the house and it's all of them. So yeah, but I hope you really like how Nix turned out, and I hope you enjoy his story. I am planning on making Numi off screen so that maybe she'll pop up to visit her brother in the house every once in a while and you can see her. But yeah, she'll be made off screen because she's like not she's one of the characters that I've sort of thought of her design, but I haven't thought of her as any sort of class. Like she's not like that type of character in the D&D world. But yeah, so hope you've been enjoying this video and this series. Let me know who is your favorite one so far. I Nita holds a special place at this point, but I also really like Vaya, so that is me. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. And definitely check out the D&D mansion build that's going on alongside this CAS series. There should be a link for it down in the description below. But anyway, I'll hopefully see you in the next one. I'm pretty sure I already said that, but I'm gonna say it again. And anyway, bye bye for now.